You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
I didn't know what to do with myself. I was thrown into very, very high-dose narcotics. I had never seen anything like it before, and it was scary.
An ABC7 investigation on the opioid crisis, with the Suncoast being the epicenter throughout Florida. What is being done? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Conan. Welcome to ABC7 at 7. We'll have more on the ABC7 investigation on opioids in a moment, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. In the wake of last week's school shooting in Florida, everyone is asking, how can we prevent another tragedy like this from happening again? But is the answer arming teachers in the classroom? The president and the teachers themselves are weighing in. ABC's Maggie Rulli has the latest.
In America's battle over guns, teachers have now found themselves on the front lines.
I want my schools protected, just like my banks are protected.
The president tweeting, highly trained, gun-adept teachers, coaches would solve problem instantly. And Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi compares armed teachers in schools to sky marshals on planes.
We have air marshals on airplanes, and why don't we have protection in our schools?
The teachers themselves are divided.
The thought of cowering in a corner, protecting your students with no options other than just standing there, hoping nobody comes in, just didn't sit right with me. I wanted more protection for my students.
No, that's not the solution. This is not, Stoneman Prison. This is a high school.
Former FBI agent and ABC consultant Brad Garrett acknowledges there's an emotional appeal to arming teachers, but says it's time for a reality check.
Their job is not to be a combat shooter like a SWAT team. We have to get away from the stereotype that an armed teacher is going to take down a mass shooter. Tangibleness of a gun in your hand is real. But the question is it the best place for that gun to be?
The National Education Association says they overwhelmingly reject the idea of arming school staff, saying in part, our students need more books, art programs, and counselors. They do not need more guns. Maggie Rulli, ABC News, New York.
Here on the Suncoast, local teachers and administrators are taking a stand on whether staff should be armed with guns in schools, while some students and teachers say they would feel safer if school staff or members were armed. Others say it is the wrong answer to school gun violence. In Manatee County, it's been a discussion administrators have had since Columbine. Arming teachers isn't something the Manatee Education Association will support. In Sarasota County, one former administrator feels it's impractical. Meanwhile, local NRA representatives say armed teachers could save lives.
We're finding more and more in our society, police officers, for instance, who are our most highly trained professionals with guns, frequently misuse them, need to be retrained. Can you imagine educators being trained and retrained and supervised with something like this?
If you arm teachers, arm security personnel that are on campus, that are there, that can respond immediately, you could potentially take out a shooter well before they reach the havoc that they've been reaching, in the latest school shootings.
Local lawmakers have proposed arming teachers in the past. That bill did not pass in Tallahassee. Bayshore High School was placed on lockdown today after an alleged threat. Manatee County Sheriff's deputies say the threat was made on social media, and they are now working with school officials to investigate. The lockdown started around 10:30 this morning and was later changed to a shelter in place. Bayshore sent out a robocall to parents to let them know what was happening. A 13-year-old Nolan Middle School student is being charged with making threats to his Bradenton school. Several other students came forward to say the teen made verbal threats towards them. This comes after Southeast High School went on lockdown as deputies investigated threats found on a bathroom wall. Law enforcement has made it clear all threats of violence at local schools will be severely punished. But tonight there is a new message to help students who are frightened by these threats. One local doctor with a specialty in child psychology says after deciphering which threats are credible, the next best step is to talk to students. He says adults are wrong to think they are protecting students by avoiding the topic. And the good way to start the conversation is by expressing your own fears and emotions after a tragedy like the one in Parkland. Many schools also have a mentoringship program to help answer tough questions students may have.
As a mentor, you have no stake in the game. You know, you're not being paid. You're probably the only person that's sitting in front of that kid that has only one interest, and that is theirs.
Most mentorship programs can be set up after notifying a school's guidance counselor or assistant principal. Sarasota police says there are no evidence of a threat to Sarasota High School after a Facebook screenshot raised concerns among parents and students. Late last night, a screenshot with a post saying there would be a shooting at SHS began circulating. Police investigated and found the post originated from an account in Springfield, Ohio. SPD has since followed up with the Springfield police, which confirmed there is no credible threat. Now let's head over to ABC7's chief meteorologist with the First Alert forecast. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. And high pressure, the same old story. Similar to yesterday, the high has moved a little bit further off from its earlier position now. It's continuing to move off in this general direction, but it's providing us that east to southeasterly wind flow. And you can see some of the low clouds out there in the Atlantic making their way in our direction. A few showers are possible, and it looks like mainly along the east coast. That would be about it. Even if we see any rain over the state, it would be very light in nature because of the dry air in place over the entire Gulf of Mexico. A great day if you're cruising down through the Caribbean or throughout the Gulf or even in the Bahamas right now. A lot of rainfall, unfortunately, being pushed up by this high as that moisture continues to ride right into this area of a little stationary front and some energy now moving through parts of Arkansas, heading off to an area that doesn't need the rain. Flooding problems a big concern to our north. 77 right now. We have just a few clouds around. The sun has gone down, and dew point temperature staying high at 68 degrees. Winds are light out of the west-northwest at 3. We just started a little sea breeze. It developed just after 4:30 this afternoon, and then we were at temperatures right around then at 86, 87 degrees. Once that sea breeze kicked in, it dropped it down to the upper 70s. A pleasant day at the beaches, and you can see statewide temperatures pretty warm everywhere. 70, the coolest reading up near Pensacola, 71 in Jacksonville, and 77 now into Miami and Key West. Those are very warm temperatures for this time of year. And Alan, we talked about it a couple days ago. A lot of rain to the north, and I know your son's playing a big ball game there on Saturday, and you had asked for a better forecast. Well, it's getting better, so there's still a chance of rain, but he might be able to make it.
Keep working on that.
I'm going to work on it.
All right, thanks a lot. Still to come, why are so many opioids prescribed here on the Suncoast? When we return.
Here we go. We're going to go out there in the rain. Going to get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh, yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah.
My name is Stephen Campagna. We're Ben Gates and Dramus, and here is your law tip of the week. If you've been injured in an accident, whether or not it's your fault, your insurance company might be responsible for some of your expenses. So give us a call. We've got your back.
Thousands of award-winning Honda Civics are on sale for $169 a month during the Honda President's Day sales event. You made Civic the best-selling compact car in America. Drive one today for just $169 a month, or save thousands on your Civic with 0.9% financing. Civic, a KBB.com best buy for less than the competition. Only $169 a month or 0.9% this week at your local Honda dealer.
Honda, I like it. Oh yeah, I like it.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
It's often reported the Suncoast is the epicenter of the opioid crisis in Florida. The state legislature continues to work on a bill that would put stricter limits on doctors prescribing opioids, but an ABC7 investigation is raising questions about the sheer number of opioid prescriptions some doctors are writing. Tonight, the story of two pain specialists with two very different points of view. Dr. Lindsay Job is the next generation of pain management specialist. Vanderbilt educated, she's an anesthesiologist and board certified in pain management. But when she moved to Florida and joined a pain management practice on the Suncoast, she was astonished, and not in the good kind of way.
I didn't know what to do with myself. I was thrown into very, very high dose narcotics. I had never seen anything like it before, and it was scary.
The Suncoast, as we all know by now, is ground zero in Florida's opioid epidemic. But the battle isn't just being waged on the street, and the enemy isn't only illicit opioids like heroin, fentanyl, or carfentanil. It's also being fought in nice, well-maintained medical office buildings throughout the Suncoast. And the opioids aren't just dangerous concoctions imported into the country by drug cartels. They go by the name of Percocet, Vicodin, hydrocodone. And despite the crackdown by the state and county on so-called pill mills, they are still being prescribed at alarming rates, says P.J. Brooks of First Step, one of the Suncoast's preeminent substance abuse treatment centers.
Even the general practitioner who may be prescribing doesn't fully understand the impact that those medications could have. The medical community as a whole typically only has about 2 hours of training on addictive disorders. They don't really even understand the disease of addiction.
So ABC7 set out to find out who is writing the most prescriptions for opioids on the Suncoast. Why? And what are the alternatives for treating very real pain? We obtained this database from the Center of Medicare and Medicaid from the years 2013 to 2015. It contains the names of every doctor in the nation who has prescribed opioid pain medication to those enrolled in those programs, how many prescriptions they wrote during that period, how many refills, and the total drug cost. We narrowed our search to Florida, and ranking third in the entire state, Dr. Fabian Ramos, who has offices in both Sarasota and Bradenton.
If you are very busy, if you see 200 patients a day in the practice in general, you're going to generate patients, especially if you're working 18 years in the community in 2 cities.
In other words, Dr. Ramos says, it's a matter of the volume of patients he and his staff treat and doesn't reflect the level of the dosages. From 2013 to 2015, over 8,500 patients going to the Ramos Center received prescriptions for opioids. The number of prescriptions of refills, almost 42,000. The total cost of the medication, more than $2.5 million. When you look at the Florida list and you in the practice ranking third out of all the pain management doctors or physicians in Florida in terms of the number of opioids and refills and the dollar amount, put that into context for us.
Actually, I am the practice, one of that least prescribes per patient. We are the largest practice in the area.
Ramos claims only 21% of his patients are prescribed opioids.
Keeping them functional, keeping them at work. Sometimes, it's okay to do that.
Dr. Job does prescribe opioids as well, over 1,000 times from 2013 to 2015. Total prescriptions and refills, over 4,000. But she says,
my generation trained differently. We were trained with very minimal opioids, and we were trained to use, this super high technology that we have now to make pain go away.
Job says that technology includes using a device like this to inject stem cells and blood platelets.
This is a chamber that we use to purify, essentially, components of the blood to inject platelet-rich plasma or bone marrow aspirate into patients, typically joints, for chronic pain syndromes.
but neither are approved by the FDA or covered by insurance for pain relief. Dr. Ramos says he is all for innovation as well and screens patients for addiction, personality disorders, depression, and offers mental health counseling. But when it comes to pain and patients, he implores, don't just look at the numbers of traditional opioid-based pain medications he and others prescribe.
We have the obligation to treat the human being in pain, and this is when the pendulum should not swing to the nonsense.
The legislature is considering a bill that would restrict doctors to prescribing 3 days worth of opioid pain relievers to patients unless longer supplies are medically needed and there are no alternative treatments. We have 3 doctors in the studio to discuss, so meet me at the Trapezoid.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Webb.
And I'm Ray Collins. The Pirates are on the road and the Orioles are home tomorrow at Ed Smith Stadium.
That is right. We're going to tell you how the Pirates plan to celebrate 50 years in Bradenton and what's new at both ballparks this season. Tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
Very warm temperatures this week due to that high. When will we see some cooler weather? We'll talk about that bright and early.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
A decade of war has taken an unprecedented toll on our men and women in uniform.
Hundreds of thousands of our veterans are suffering from the trauma of war.
At Justice for Vets, we believe that every veteran should have the opportunity for treatment and restoration.
Get involved and go to justiceforvets.org.
Help put treatment within reach of veterans in crisis.
Veterans fought for our freedom. Now it's our turn to fight for theirs.
Meet Blue. Blue's not feeling well. The prescription? Generic medication. Blue wonders, do they really work as well as name brands? Yes, generics and name brand medications do work the same. Even though they may look different, generics have the same key ingredients. FDA approval is equally rigorous for generics to make sure they're as safe and effective as name brands. And Blue even saves some green, making him a little less, well, blue. Talk to your doctor about generics and visit fda.gov/generic drugs.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard serve to give back to their country and communities. Their part-time commitment qualifies them for an array of benefits, such as affordable health and life insurance benefits, education benefits, including tuition assistance, student loan repayment, and GI Bill programs, a retirement plan based on part-time service, and VA home mortgages. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about all the benefits available in the Army National Guard.
Northland Outdoors is about so much more than the biggest fish or the hottest hunting spots. All across the Northland, there are amazing people with incredible stories to tell. We're going to find those stories and share them with everyone.
Join us each and every week as we explore the Northland and experience some of the most exciting outdoor adventures in the country right here in our own backyard. This is Northland Outdoors.
Welcome back. It's not something to boast about when it comes to the opioid epidemic here in Florida. We're #1. But tonight, we separate the discussion from the problem involving illicit drugs like heroin and fentanyl sold on the street, and we look at the opioid pain medication being prescribed at what some people believe are alarming rates by physicians. And joining us for now are 2 pain management doctors with 2 very different points of view. Dr. Fabian Ramos of the Ramos Center, Dr. Lindsay Job of Restore Medical Partners, and Dr. Janet Taylor of Centerstone Behavioral Health. And thank you all for joining us tonight. And Dr. Ramos, obviously, we'll start with you because, and we discussed this in the office, the numbers, and we're dealing with Medicare and Medicaid patients, do show your practice 3rd in the entire state for those years in terms of the number of prescriptions and refills written. But you say we should take into consideration volume and the dosages. Explain a little bit more.
Yeah, that data shows only paper count. It doesn't show prescription dosages or the amount of prescriptions written in each prescription. Also, there is a lot of data out there that shows the practice that I have, what I'm very proud of. I am all for having the latest technology, and opioid in my practice is the last resort. In fact, over 80% of the patients, by the way, the practice has over 10,000 patients, but 80% of the patients have interventional therapy, physical therapy, or mental health counseling only.
Let me ask you just a couple of really kind of key questions. I would imagine, I mean, are you personally writing those prescriptions that account for every one of those numbers, or is there other doctors, physician's assistants, and so forth?
We have 11 in my practice, 11 providers. We are almost 70% staff members. We have 4 nurse practitioners and 2 physician assistants. Here in the state of Florida, they cannot write prescriptions. So as they see the doctor that is managing, and we have 3 doctors, we just hired another doctor as well, they have to write for the patients that come. Now, I have 18 years in the community, which some of these patients are 15 years receiving medications extremely low dosages.
Right. Dr. Jobe, I want to talk to you for a moment, because you said that when you moved to Florida, you were kind of horrified by whatever practice you were, you joined, by the ease and the numbers of prescriptions for opioids that were written.
That is true. I trained, I think, in a little bit of a different atmosphere than what I've experienced here in Florida. So the training, within the past 10 years is very, opioids last, interventions first, interventions fast. So the faster the primary care can get the patients to the right place, meaning pain doctors, the faster we can do things to prevent them from ever even going on that medication.
Dr. Taylor, we're so focused in terms of the opioid epidemic on those illicit drugs on the street, heroin, fentanyl, and so forth. But in your community that deals with people who have addiction problems, are you dealing with a lot of people who get problems because it starts in the doctor's office?
There's no question. I think as providers, we have to take responsibility for playing a role in the opioid epidemic and the abuse of opioids, in that we have written too many prescriptions and for too long, and maybe have not offered alternative remedies and treatments for people. So I think we have to look at that. And it sounds like both of these doctors are doing it responsibly, but there are a number of doctors who are not. And in fact, when people think about opioid addiction, they think about heroin and street drugs, but it's prescription drugs that frequently get people along that path. And it's not your typical, back alley heroin addict. We're talking about middle class, upper middle class individuals of every socioeconomic strata who potentially gets addicted. So it's a huge problem.
We are just getting warmed up. We'll have much more on the opioid prescription problem right after we check the first order. So stay with us.
This is an important announcement. If you're between 50 and 85 and worried about your loved ones, you can still get affordable life insurance for peace of mind.
My life insurance coverage is guaranteed, and I was not required to get a medical exam.
I had high blood pressure and diabetes, and I got my coverage with one telephone call. No exam necessary.
I'm a smoker, and I wanted to take care of my family. I called to get my life insurance and my affairs in order. I wanted to do the right thing.
Call Final Expense No Exam Insurance. Your rates are guaranteed and will never increase.
I called and learned that this insurance cannot be canceled even if you get sick or gain weight.
And there are no restrictions on how my beneficiaries use the money when I'm gone.
Approval was easy and the price was right. I wanted to do this for my children.
Call 800-738-9812. 800-738-9812.
Loaded with big laughs, colorful characters, and the songs that made the 20s roar, Bullets Over Broadway is bringing musical theater back with a bang. Your attendance is requested at the Players Center for this wild Broadway musical opening February 21st. Call the Players at 365-2494 or visit the website at theplayers.org. This is one Broadway show that is sure to knock 'em dead.
My Hometown Fest is coming to Nathan Benderson Park Saturday, March 3rd. Join us for culinary favorites from across the U.S. paired with your favorite craft beers. There's also great live music and activities for adults and kids. Buy your tickets today at myhometownfest.org.
You got a king?
Go fish!
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Army National Guard soldiers serve to give back to their country and their community. Their part-time commitment qualifies them for benefits such as health and life insurance, education benefits, and retirement and VA home loan benefits. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more.
Our conversation on opioid pain medication continues right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan, and get a look at this photo sent in to us today on pics@mysuncoast.com from Dan. Again, we'll get his full name up there in just a little bit. I just got off the phone with him not too long ago. On the prowl, this is a 12-foot gator. It's not even the biggest one out there at Buffalo Creek in Palmetto. I was out there with a Dream 18 just about a week and a half ago. This is what you call slow playing. Slow playing is right, just moving slowly across the green right there on number 10 at Buffalo Creek. And Susan Humphrey sending this one in yesterday of the half moon, and a lot of rainfall to the north of us continues to be a problem there. But for us, we stay high and dry, high in terms of high pressure, which continues to dominate our weather, with high temperatures soaring into the upper 80s to low 90s over the past several days now. So for 4 days in a row, we've set record high temperatures, or we've tied them. Today we tied the record high of 87 degrees. And no rain around here as the atmosphere is really quite dry, but there are flood warnings in effect for Louisiana, parts of Texas, all the way up into Arkansas tonight, as all this moisture coming in from the Gulf of Mexico works in their general direction. This is not rain out here. This is, again, the military doing some exercises down off the Keys. Military letting some chaff. It's called chaff. It's to disguise the radar, or to confuse the radar, enemy radar. So again, that's not rain down there. And we are looking at dry air in place all into the upper levels of the atmosphere right now, covering all of Florida and the Gulf of Mexico. 77 degrees. The dew point is fairly high at 68, and winds are light out of the west-northwest at 3 miles an hour. The pressure 30-32. That is extremely high, and it has been for the past several days now. There it is, to tie the old mark set back in 1990. 87 degrees. Our normal high, usually pretty comfortable, 74 degrees, so it's been a little bit uncomfortable for some, with temperatures in the upper 80s to near 90 degrees. Right along the area beaches, temperatures have cooled down into the mid-70s. Longboat Key, Whitney Beach, all at 76. A couple degrees warmer now. Palm and Braden Country Club at 79, 77 in Osprey, and 79 in Port Charlotte. Venice, you're at 78, 77 in Inglewood. And as far as the futurecast goes, we're looking at this steady stream of southeast wind flow covering much of the state of Florida right through Friday and then beyond into Saturday, Sunday. It doesn't change much on Monday. And what this is going to do is going to continue to just pump all this moisture into Arkansas, parts of West Tennessee, and even into Missouri over the next couple of days at least. This little piece of energy is heading right toward Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan, where they don't need the rain. They've had excessive amounts of rainfall over the past couple of days now, and looks like more flood warnings are in effect for those people. Get a look at the temperatures currently across the area. We are looking at teens across much of, again, the North Dakota, Montana area, and it looks like we will continue to see that cold air stay right there into the 30s over the Great Lakes, and now 32 in Boston. Tomorrow's high temperatures will be into the teens across Montana and into North Dakota, and 77 expected in Atlanta. Here's the forecast for boaters. East winds turn to the northwest at 10 knots, subsiding to 5 knots later on in the day. And the extended forecast calling for temperatures to stay above the seasonal averages, with a 20% chance for a few showers Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Alan will be back with his guests right after this.
This holiday season, show a little imagination. For her, how about a visit to the spa or an evening at a fine restaurant? For him, it could be a round of golf on a world-class course or gear from the pro shop. You'll find these gifts and more at rtjgolf.com/gift cards. RTJ gift cards and resort cards are easy to wrap and never go out of style. Whether it's a good drive, a great steak, or relaxation at the spa, find it at rtjgolf.com/gift cards.
Looking for something fun to do on a Friday night? Then come to Music on Main, the first Friday of every month at Lakewood Ranch. Enjoy free live music, dancing, great food, and lots of fun for every family member. even the furry ones. Meet up with friends, enjoy activities for the kids, or make it a special date night. And be sure to stop by the ABC7 booth and say hello. Mark your calendars for Music on Main. First Friday of the month, 6 to 9 at Lakewood Ranch. Brought to you by ABC7 and these sponsors.
Who else has been taking your prescriptions? Keep your medicine and your family safe and secure. Mind your meds. To learn how we can help, visit the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids at drugfree.org.
Are you a food lover, restaurant goer, or home cook? Then check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, and helpful step-by-step videos. And you'll love the restaurant guide with direct links to your favorite Suncoast eateries. Whether you're cooking in or dining out, whet your appetite with tasty tips from Chef Judy at mysuncoast.com/dining. You now have the power to prioritize your Facebook feed and get local news and information from the team you trust. Go to the ABC7 Sarasota page on Facebook. Give us a like, then click following and choose See First. That's it. Customize even more by choosing notifications. Choose breaking news, posts, live videos, anything you want to see in real time. Take control of your newsfeed and stay connected to what's happening in your community with ABC7 on Facebook.
Welcome back. We're talking about the results of an ABC7 investigation into opioid pain medication and a number of prescriptions doctors here on the Suncoast are writing. And joining us right now are two pain management doctors with two different points of view, Dr. Fabian Ramos of the Ramos Center and Dr. Lindsay Job of Restore Medical Partners and Dr. Janet Taylor of Centerstone Behavioral Health. So, Dr. Job, is there a philosophical difference between you and Dr. Ramos in terms of looking for alternatives to opioid-based pain medication first and what techniques you use?
I actually don't think that there's a huge philosophical difference between us. I think we both are highly interventional. I've only been in the community a few years, and Dr. Ramos has a lot more patients than I do. But I think, you know, we trained in different generations, and you know, we're in a learning phase and a change phase where we're changing, you know, the way that we practice. And you know, 10 years ago, when there was a patient with a pain score of 10, you gave them pain medication. You know, and we created this monster, and now we've realized what we've done, and we're cleaning it up. And Dr. Ramos and I are both very strong interventional doctors, and that's what we need. We need these narcotics outside of the hands of doctors who don't know how to prescribe them, and get them into the pain management doctor, because we're trained to do that.
Right. Dr. Ramos, I was told that a couple of years ago there was something like 30 pain clinics in the Sarasota area because of the changes in terms of the county and city ordinances. It's down to like 5, but does that result in increased pressure on doctors like yourself, because all those patients that were going to those pill mills are still looking for something, and they're going to be knocking on your door and the door of other physicians on the Suncoast?
Well, Alan, I am very passionate about this subject because I have been in the forefront of fighting against the opioid abuse since the early 2000s. And the answer is yes. Back in those initial 2010, around 2012, you have the data. 95% of the total prescriptions were written by specialists and doctors other than interventionalists. So only 5% of the prescriptions in the whole country were prescribed by trained pain physicians. Now what happens is that I was definitely, before Dr. Job came into town, in the middle of these pill mill epidemics, I was fighting against them, working with the commissioners, working with law enforcement and the sheriff department. They used my office as the model of what to do. And what happened is that those doctors squeeze those patients, to answer your question, through the trained physicians. And we are decreasing and decreasing and decreasing.
Right. But let me ask you this, and the database that we have here is limited because it only covers Medicare and Medicaid patients. But in some of what you've communicated to us, you say that by far the majority of prescriptions do not come from pain specialists, but from other specialists, mainly primary care doctors as a whole. That may be true, but at least when it comes to the database we're looking at for all of Florida, if you're looking at the top prescribers, they're usually in the pain management field.
Yeah, and the answer is simple. There are only a few pain management doctors. I think that 200 or 300 practices in the whole state, and thousands of primary doctors. So the prescriptions come from the community in general, not only primary doctors, dentists, ER physicians, all doctors with good faith. It's just that what was created in the early 90s and the first years of year 2000 was a population of tolerant patients, not addictive patients, not addictive personality, not bad doctors at that time. I'm talking about the doctors without training, right. But a population that was extremely tolerant with significant amount of medications in the community.
Dr. Taylor, Centerstone deals with people who are having this problem. From what you see coming in the door, is it people having problems because they've been overprescribed by their general practitioner or these other specialists and not pain management doctors?
Well, you know, unfortunately, disparities in pain relief is still a healthcare disparity, and a lot of our patients don't have either the finances or, frankly, luck to see interventionists like they are. So if they have pain, they're going to get their pain meds wherever they can. And the reality is any medication has the potential to be a person to develop an addiction, but in terms of opiates, because how it crosses the blood-brain barrier and the sense of pleasure and relief is so quick, those patients have a higher likelihood of getting it. So if they are, my patients who have developed addictions and certainly have become criminal justice involved are certainly abusing the medication and not paying attention to their doctor's orders, and frankly, in many cases, just don't have the same structure that these two doctors provide.
So as we all know, the state legislature is trying to deal with this, and as we reported earlier, one of the bill that's working its way through the legislature cracks down in terms of the length of any prescription, you know, just a matter of days, 3 to 5 days, and you have to provide compelling medical evidence that longer prescriptions are necessary. Dr. Jobe, is that the answer to this problem?
I personally like the law. I think it limits people's access to long-term opioids. It limits access to excessive opioids sitting around in the house, in grandma's house, and, you know, her grandson coming and stealing them, you know, from her cabinet, and she doesn't even know. There's just exposure to opioids everywhere, and that will limit some of it. And then the rest of it is that we have to continue to fight to prevent them from going on opioids to begin with. Get them to us sooner. Let us do injections. Let us use technology. We can, you know, we've been sort of, pain management doctors are sort of treated with disrespect, and it's kind of amazing to me now that we are amazing trained doctors and we can cure your pain.
Right, but as we reported, some of the real high-tech stuff that you're doing is not approved yet by the FDA, and B, not covered by insurance, right. Which means a lot of people simply can't afford it.
Right. 99% of what we do, Dr. Ramos and myself, is covered by Medicare and Medicaid, and it is covered by insurance. And I think that those FDA, non-FDA approved things like PRP and stem cell will be available in 2 to 3 years.
And Dr. Ramos, we only have about a minute left here, but when we're talking about the legislation being debated in Tallahassee right now, if you are limiting prescriptions, with some exceptions, to 3 to 5 days, unless you provide evidence that longer is required, is that too much in terms of your view of things?
For an acute event, I am practicing that. I am doing this on a daily basis. My patients come at the last of the rope in pain after 2 or 3 surgeries. Even in them, when I prescribe 3 days and test how the medication works on you, if they need it. If there is medical necessity supporting the use of opioids, after everything has been tried, my interventions, that, by the way, that's what I do. I spend from 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. every single day doing high-tech interventions in my office. But after that, if you are, I give you a 3-day prescription, a 5-day prescription, and if you need to adjust that, I give you another 3-day prescription. And then until you are managed with something that will work for you. The wrong thing will be to throw 60, 120 tablets to a patient's house, but then changing them for 120 tablets more.
Right.
That, for example, will increase just the number of prescriptions by itself.
Okay, we have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts in a moment. Stay with us.
SRQ Performance Parts provides parts and accessories from over 300 manufacturers, so you can get that new manifold, carburetor, gasket, bolt kit, or nitrous oxide system fast. We'll help you beat the competition. Call or visit SRQ Performance Parts online today for all your high-performance parts and advice.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential, there's no cost, and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
My life motto is keep moving. And as hard as it was when my husband passed away, I knew I had to keep doing what I love. Oops, coming. But I needed help with my insurance, and that's what the NAIC provides. They have resources to help you and your family make the best decision, and they'll help you to keep moving forward, just like me.
Get breaking news alerts focused on the Suncoast. Download the ABC7 News app.
And our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Dr. Taylor, let me start with you. Is the situation involving opioid pain medication getting any better here on the Suncoast or not?
Well, I mean, make no mistake, you know, I work at Centerstone, I work at the Manatee County Jail, and maybe my view is skewed. However, like the rest of the country, opioid abuse is an epidemic. And my experience, I'm seeing it at younger ages, and also the impact in terms of disrupting families. So I think this is encouraging, but we have a ways to go.
And Dr. Job, you know, we saw your practice and everything that you're doing. Are you concerned that there are other practices around here that are still overprescribing pain medication?
Absolutely, and those do exist. But I think this is a wonderful example of, you know, two different generations of pain doctors coming together as one, coming together on a unified front, and fighting this epidemic interventionally and just by caring and doing the right thing for the patient. You know, I think it's time to merge the two generations and fix the problem.
Dr. Ramos, if there is anything that you think that the community, the medical community and state legislators could do that they are not doing yet to limit the sheer number of prescriptions out there, what would that be?
Number one, insurances should cover abuse deterrent extended release medications at a lower cost, affordable, easy to prescribe. So the fast release. Now we have technology that if you crack or crash or it turns into paste, cannot be injected. We have technology now that if If you crack, then you cannot use because it comes with Narcan and naloxone.
Right.
So there are different things that can be done, and also training of physicians.
Okay.
It's really important.
We have to leave it there. Before we go, we want to share with you your thoughts on last night's broadcast on felons voting. 1.5 million felons were stripped of their right to vote by Governor Rick Scott in 2011. Now a federal judge is ruling that's unconstitutional, and Florida residents will be getting the chance to vote on restoring voting rights this fall. It could have a profound impact on future elections in Florida. Remember, the 2000 presidential election was decided by 537 votes in Florida. So we went to Facebook for your thoughts. And Mary Louise says, I will be voting no. They lost their right when they were convicted and should not get it back. John says if they paid for their crimes, they should have their voting rights returned. And Donna says Florida is only one of a handful of states that disenfranchise and do not restore voting rights immediately after time served. The current process is a waste of tax money, creates bloated government, and unjustly denies basic rights. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation about tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And for the latest on local breaking news, don't forget to download the updated version of our app. If your current app doesn't work, it's expired, just go to the App Store and re-download it by searching for WWSB or My Suncoast. We want to thank all our guests for being here tonight. Dr. Fabian Ramos of the Ramos Center, Dr. Lindsay Job of Restore Medical Partners, and Dr. Janet Taylor of Centerstone Behavioral Health. When we return, we'll have a final look at your first alert weather, plus what is President Trump proposing to help protect kids at school. Stay with us.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
Want the latest weather and traffic conditions wherever you go? Introducing ABC7's revolutionary new First Alert weather app. With our state-of-the-art new weather app, you get up-to-the-minute weather alerts, interactive radar maps, current conditions, 10-day forecasts, real-time traffic maps, and weather video from ABC7, all at your fingertips. And it's free. Just search Suncoast WX in the App Store and download onto all your devices today. Sponsored by Mr. Sparky.
Soldiers in the Army National Guard live up to a set of time-honored principles.
I will always place the mission first.
They stand ready to respond to any crisis.
I will never accept defeat.
They serve in their communities as citizens and as soldiers.
I will never quit.
They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
Learn more at nationalguard.com.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on our first alert forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Look at this picture here, Alan. Just an amazing crepuscular rays right there. Rick getting that, and beautiful shot. We showed this earlier, Susan Humphreys of the moon. If you have a photo, send it to Pix, P-I-X, at mysuncoast.com. Casey Key webcam, calm conditions out there. Great beach weather. It has been all week long. And if you have a beach trip planned for Friday or the weekend, it looks to be really nice too, as we are anticipating beautiful weather over the weekend. Well, the rainfall continues to spread into Arkansas tonight. Freezing rain up near Omaha, and then into St. Louis, the rain continuing there. That's all going to be moving to the northeast and causing more problems upstream into Illinois, Indiana, and parts of Ohio. Well, the flood watch remains in effect for much of Louisiana, and flood warnings are occurring. Some of the streams there and rivers down away from that, and near Lake Charles, the river there also causing some problems. No rain around here, as a result of some really dry air in place right now, and that dry air will continue to stick around right through the next several days. Not going anywhere anytime soon. Current conditions, 77 degrees. We have partly cloudy skies, winds out of the west, northwest at 3, and the pressure 32 on the rise. 87 the high today. That was well above the average of 74. That's our typical high temperature in the low 70s to mid 70s. 87, the record it tied in 1990. And temperatures in Rosedale at 77, 76 now Longboat Key, Siesta Key at 77, and Sarasota, downtown Sarasota 77 degrees, Northport at 78, and Rotunda at 76. Well, the futurecast does not show much rainfall along the west coast. There'll be a few showers, brief showers along the east coast on that high pressure ridge in the southern part of it, bringing that flow in and bringing some moisture in from the Atlantic and carrying it all the way over to our central counties. We may see a few isolated showers here tomorrow afternoon and Saturday afternoon, with that rain chance less than 20%. And there goes the freezing rain and snow falling now into Minnesota, Wisconsin, into parts of South Dakota. And near Omaha, they're getting the freezing rain, so kind of an ice storm there taking place. And the rainfall is the concern over Arkansas. Some heavier storms there, too. And that steady stream of moisture will stay around through Friday and Saturday. Now, as far as the bitterly cold temperatures go, they're over the northern plains and into the northern Rockies right now. 13 in Minot, 16 in Billings. Tomorrow's high temperatures, 36 in Denver and 57 in Cleveland. A little bit warmer, not too bad in Chicago at 46, which is fairly typical for this time of year there. Beach and boating forecast looks good. We'll have a light chop in the bays and inland water, seas running less than 2 feet. The UV index will be high tomorrow at an 8. The forecast tonight, low of 68 degrees, patchy fog, mostly fair otherwise. Tomorrow we'll see high temperatures topping out into the mid 80s, some upper 80s as well, and then we'll slowly cool down, but not much. We'll stay still well above average through the work week next week. And then on Thursday, March 1st, it will come in like a lamb with a 79-degree temperature and lots of sunshine in the forecast. Al will be back with primetime headlines right after this. Stick around.
I actually started playing the game at 11 years old, so I started a little bit later than most players. But I was actually raised on Fighting Joe. The value here at Robert Trent Jones is unsurpassable. I mean, I have looked to other places. I've traveled all the way across the country. Everything is perfect as far as everything is the golf course, the rolling of the greens. Everything that I've encountered has just been absolutely incredible. And for the money that you spend, for the value that you actually get, it is unsurpassable. I'd recommend it for anybody.
I witnessed him have 2 heart attacks in ICU. He went through seizures.
We'd much rather have Aaron like this than dead. A lot of parents don't have that luxury.
He can't talk. He can't walk. This is a condition Aaron will live with for the rest of his life because he abused prescription pills.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
All hands on deck. What's up? I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely. Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
and for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
Chris Domine is a husband, father, an athlete, even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris's kidneys were failing.
The doctor said if you don't do dialysis, if you don't get a kidney transplant, you are going to die.
Then Chris received a second chance, made possible by an organ donor.
Your well-being changes from loss of hope to better times ahead.
Imagine what you could make possible. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
We answered the call of duty and left our homes to serve in far-off lands. Now, we answer another call, this time at home, in our own communities, to respond in times of chaos, to use our strength, our skills, and our experiences to bring hope amid devastation and destruction. Together, as a team of brothers and sisters, we're continuing our mission to make this country a little stronger and a little better each day. We are Team Rubicon. Checking primetime headlines as more of the victims of last week's mass shooting in Florida are buried.
The debate continues about how to prevent another gun rampage at the school. ABC7's Tara Palmieri has the latest from Washington.
In Florida today, one of the hero teachers from Stoneman Douglas High School was laid to rest. Football coach Aaron Feist, who students say used his own body to shield students from bullets. Meanwhile, in D.C., at a second session with state and local officials, President Trump threw out ideas, some against the Republican mainstream.
It's a tremendous feeling that we want to get something done, and we're leading that feeling, I hope, but there's a great feeling, including at the NRA.
While defending the NRA, he said he wants to raise the age limit to buy guns, something the NRA is against. But they both agree that the way to secure schools is with more guns.
We must immediately harden our schools. Every day, young children are being dropped off at schools that are virtually wide open, soft targets for anyone bent on mass murder.
Instead of advertising, this school has no guns, we are gun-free, you let the people know the opposite.
When Education Secretary Betsy DeVos suggested active shooter drills, President Trump rejected the idea.
But active shooter drills is a very negative thing. I don't like it. I'd much rather have a hardened school. I think it's crazy. I think it's very bad for children.
The president floated a controversial proposal to have select, specially trained teachers carrying concealed weapons. There are a lot of questions about how President Trump would enact these proposals and if they're passable by a Republican Congress. Tara Palmieri, ABC News, Washington.
Special counsel Robert Mueller is filing new charges against former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. He is facing charges including money laundering uncovered during the special counsel's investigation into Russian election meddling. Manafort, who has pleaded not guilty, asked to be released from house arrest and allowed to swap the houses he is using to back his $10 million bail. The judge denied the request. A SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launched this morning from California's Vandenberg Air Force Base. The primary mission is to deliver Spain's PAZ satellite into low Earth orbit, but also the rocket gets founder Elon Musk closer to his goal of providing high-speed internet to the world using thousands of tiny satellites. Along with the PAZ satellite, the Falcon 9 rocket carried 2 experimental internet delivery satellites. SpaceX will use them to test technology designed to beam high-speed internet to Earth's surface. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.